Hello, good evening. Welcome to North West Tonight. I'm Roger Johnson. Thank you for joining us this evening. Our top story, burnt gums and lost teeth. The real cost of home whitening kits, 500 times the legal strength.
They've got no idea of the pain and suffering that using them gels actually causes.
We'll have the full details of a shocking North West Tonight investigation for you in just a moment. Also in the programme, anxiously waiting for news from Jamaica. The family's here, fearing for loved ones in the path of Hurricane Melissa. The tale of the tape, how a lost cassette, rediscovered in a loft, launched a Liverpool man's music career. Happy Halloween from the haunted house and the ghoulish garden, lighting up Wirral. A few months ago, BBC North West's investigations team received an email from a beautician concerned about illegal and dangerous teeth whitening treatments which are being sold in salons and on social media across the North West. The British Dental Association says that it is appalled by what we subsequently discovered. Home kits using gels so strong that they can cause burns and tooth loss, and bogus qualifications for sale with literally no training. One seller told us the profits to be made are insane. Here's Dan O'Donoghue's exclusive report.
The perfect smile. It's pushed on social media as the beauty standard. So it's no surprise demand for teeth whitening is on the up.
Teeth have become a really big part of how people look on that, don't they?
There's a lot of pressure to look a certain way from a lot of people.
When you see them, it is nice. You're like, oh, white teeth.
And you see them, you see the results and think, oh yeah, they're great then, I'll get them.
50% bleach. That should tell you all you need to know.
Kelly knows the dangers of teeth whitening all too well. She had to have 4 teeth removed after hair treatment at a Lancaster salon went wrong.
It was horrific. I didn't even want to go out. Didn't go to work. Didn't want to go out of the house. Didn't want anybody to see me looking like I did.
The grandmother has spent tens of thousands of pounds over the last 10 years trying to repair the damage.
They've got no idea of the pain and suffering that using them gels actually causes.
There are strict laws on who can perform the procedures and the strength of the chemicals that can be used. But a beautician who contacted the North West investigation team raised concerns that salons in the region were regularly flouting those rules. And it didn't take us long to find evidence of criminality in plain sight. Salons offering extreme bleach treatments and kits at illegally strong levels, some as much as 500 times the safe limit for home use.
Yeah, this is the address she's given us.
We're on our way to East Manchester to collect a £55 home treatment advertised as 35% carbamide peroxide.
It's just appear on the right, apparently, isn't it?
The address given by White and Bright in Droylsden is a residential property. The seller isn't there, so her relative hands over the kit.
Have you paid it yet?
Yes.
How did it go?
Good. There you go.
What is in that bag?
2 unmarked syringes. No warnings, no ingredients, no nothing, just
It's wild.
go for it.
Now we're on Merseyside. We've been messaging a seller offering a training course and a bogus qualification in teeth whitening for £300.
I'm not seeing anything that even looks like a salon.
The address we're given for Pearly White Diamonds brings us to the car park of a registered retirement home.
Yeah, amazing, thank you. So you'll give me all the instructions, basically.
Everything,
Lovely,
yeah.
thank you.
Your certificate's in there.
See you later, thanks so much. She's given us 2 different colours because we've got 2 different strengths. We've got high 30 to 35, extreme 50 to 53. So those 2 are 50 to 53, yeah. And there you go.
This is your qualification then?
Pre-signed certificate, yeah.
We took the kits to the University of Lancashire's dental lab for analysis. The tests confirmed that the levels of bleach in the gels were as advertised, dangerously over the legal limit.
The molecules actually enter through the enamel dentine into the inner part of the tooth, essentially where the nerve tissue is. If you also exposed your gums to that, you could actually essentially cause a chemical burn. So, I mean, you know, you're damaging potentially your teeth, you are potentially damaging your gums. I just don't see why people, at least I would hope, people wouldn't want to take that risk.
We asked the beauticians to respond to our findings. We had no response. The General Dental Council hasn't brought a prosecution for illegal teeth whitening in 4 years.
The General Dental Council should be going after them like pitchforks and torches kind of deal, as opposed to like doing what they normally do, which is kind of backhaling it to trading standards. If you're damaging a biological structure, if I were to break your nose, that's the criminal assault. Well, if I start breaking your teeth, that's the same thing.
And everybody probably thinks it's not going to happen to me, but I was one of them, and it did happen to me. All I can say to people is please do your research. You've got no idea what these guys are using.
That report from Dan O'Donoghue you heard at the end from the dentist Paul Woodhouse. He joins us now live and also speaks for the British Dental Association. Mr Woodhouse, thanks ever so much for talking to us tonight. We are very grateful to you, and as we can see, you're fitting us in amongst patients, so we do appreciate it. The BDA says it's appalled by what we found, but are you surprised?
Not surprised, no. You know, we've all heard horror stories of cheap beauty treatments, from everything from the traveling abroad to have cosmetic dentistry or breast implants to fake weight loss jabs. Tooth whitening is just another thing, and this is not a new phenomenon. This has been going on for a long time, but it's becoming more and more commonplace that we're seeing it happen with the sort of the advent of social media, and we're all on camera 24/7. That we all want to look a little bit better. People are looking for quick, cheap shortcuts to do that.
Dentists can do teeth whitening, and I think 60 times the kind of home limit is what you're allowed to do, but obviously you're licensed to do it. How much does it cost to have it done professionally by a dentist?
It varies depending on the sort of the practice expenses and how much they're buying kit and their time commitment to it. But you want to be talking ballpark of about £300 for a proper course of whitening. You also need to bear in mind that all teeth whiten at different rates, so some people will be able to whiten quite easily in a fortnight. Some people will need a bit longer depending on the kind of quality of the tooth material that's being whitened.
So it's interesting that it's not, I expected you might say thousands, but it's a multiple of the £50 that we heard, so it's a false economy.
It's not hugely expensive. You're not talking about doing a massive amount of work. The great thing about whitening, it's probably my favourite cosmetic treatment in that it does virtually no damage to the structure of the teeth. It's gentle, it's safe, it's effective. And there's no kind of, when you do crowns and veneers, you're always doing a little bit of extra stuff to the tooth, which long-term needs replacing. You don't need to do that with whitening. It's very simple, it's very easy, and it works on everyone.
So, I mean, therefore, it's the power of these chemicals. You say it doesn't do any harm, but these chemicals do harm. So we need to see some prosecutions, do we?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, the strongest product I know that we can get hold of as dental professionals is about 20% carbamide peroxide, and that breaks down to just under 7% hydrogen peroxide, which is the chemical that does the whitening, but it's also the chemical that does the damage. If you're going above sort of 20% carbamide peroxide, you're into danger territory. We use 10%, so we've got a nice safety window because there's a stack of research that shows it's an effective way to whiten teeth without causing sensitivity and pain to the patients.
But only if it's done properly. Paul Woodhouse, very grateful to you. Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us. Paul Woodhouse, a dentist, and also speaks for the British Dental Association. Right, here are some of the other stories that are making headlines in the Northwest tonight. And a Wirral couple, Clevi Prijani and his wife Nivalda, who've been found guilty of murdering their baby at their home in Seacombe. Their 3-month-old son Miguel died at Alderhay Children's Hospital 5 days after being found unresponsive. A jury heard he'd been systematically abused. His parents will be sentenced at a later date. Cutbacks at a hospice which serves Buxton and other parts of the High Peak have been called heartbreaking by volunteers who say that local families will suffer. Ashgate Hospice is trying to save £2.6 million. It will provide palliative care as a result to 600 fewer patients each year. And the Salford Red Devils Rugby League Club have had another reprieve today when the winding up proceedings were adjourned for 2 more weeks in the High Court. It's the 3rd time the club's been given more time to clear unpaid tax and wage bills of around £600,000. Salford, of course, were relegated from Super League earlier this month. An inquest has heard that a victim of the Manchester Synagogue attack was shot by a police officer as he held the doors shut against the killer. Adrian Dalby and Melvin Kravitz died in the attack by Jihad al-Shami as they attended the Heaton Park Synagogue in Crumpsall for Yom Kippur earlier this month. Phil Cunliffe was at the hearing at Manchester Coroner's Court.
These inquests were opened and adjourned by the Chief Coroner of England and Wales in less than an hour, and during that time we only heard evidence from one person, a police officer. Detective Chief Superintendent Lewis Hughes was the senior investigating officer on the day of the incident at the Heaton Park Synagogue. Now, he described how the first victim, Melvin Kravitz, was driven at by the terror suspect Jihad al-Shami. Al-Shami narrowly missed him but then got out of his vehicle, a black Kia, and stabbed Mr Kravitz multiple times with a knife. Lewis Hughes then spoke about the second victim, Adrian Dalby. He confirmed that the 53-year-old was killed by a single gunshot wound to the chest fired by a Greater Manchester police officer. This was probably a stray or a deflected bullet. It was fired as al-Shami turned and started to move aggressively towards the officers outside the synagogue. Mr Dalby was hit despite being behind the main door, where he'd been trying alongside others to stop al-Shami getting inside. Sadly, Mr Dalby died at the scene. These hearings will resume in February next year. That's when we'll hear lots more detail about what happened on the day. In the meantime, a separate hearing will take place here on Friday into the death of al-Shami. Phil Cunliffe, BBC North West Tonight, Manchester.
Right, let's take a look at some of the other stories that people are reading online from BBC News tonight. And plans for 160 homes in Sandbach have been rejected by Cheshire East councillors. Planners who recommended approval say that councillors should pick their battles in the light of government targets. 6 new buses will join the fleet on the Isle of Man next month at a cost of £1.4 million. Next year marks the 50th anniversary of the island's nationalised bus service. And the Wasdale Head Inn at the foot of Scafell in the Lakes has banned camper vans from its car park, blaming an arrogant minority of owners. You can find out more bbc.co.uk/local news, or have a look, as always, on the BBC News app. Now, the devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa is worse than anything seen before in Jamaica. That was the United Nations assessment tonight, and communities across the northwest have been waiting anxiously today for news of loved ones in the Caribbean. Jonas Muller has been speaking to families around the region today.
Jamaica's strongest ever hurricane has left widespread devastation. For families here in the northwest, growing concern for loved ones on the island. This is Black River Hospital in St Elizabeth, one of the worst hit areas.
All of it's underwater now.
Keisha Swaby from Manchester was born in the hospital.
As far as I know, the area that I'm from is totally flattened. Houses are just underwater. Rooftops have gone. No electricity, no telephones. We're unable to get in contact with anyone down there right now.
Her parents, Tennyson and Millicent, live just a few miles away.
Do you know if they're okay?
No, not yet. Not yet. Not at all.
Have you been trying to find out a bit more about?
Yeah, I've been trying to call, check on social media if anyone's heard anything, and it's just been like, there's no connection, so it's hard to get any information from them out there.
Paula Robinson from Preston has 11 members of her family in Jamaica. She spoke to her mum on Monday.
My mom said, oh, if I never hear your voice. If I never hear your voice again, you know, just know I love you. And I said, you are going to hear my voice again.
But there's been no contact with her sister, Pauline.
I didn't sleep. I cried all night, keep watching the news. And I said, I shouldn't have watched it, but it's good to know what's going on. And people are praying, sending prayers, and I'm praying here. I've got a prayer group.
Jeffrey Schooler grew up on the island. and has a shop in Windermere.
The most you can do is probably just sort of store up on water and canned food, stuff like that. Humanitarian aid kind of chips in, and survival skill.
Thoughts are turning to what communities here in the UK can do to help.
As soon as I heard, I contacted our football team, who are descendants of Jamaica, and we decided to put a football match on to try and raise money. I talked to one of the band members of a reggae band called Jamaica, who's been started in the 70s. Their parents are from Jamaica as well. So we're going to put on a reggae rush and get everybody together to try and raise as much money as we can.
Sandra Smith-Brown from Cheadle has cousins, uncles and aunts in the Manchester area of Jamaica.
So we just want to know, are people safe? That's the first thing. Are they safe? You know, we can repair houses, but we cannot repair lives.
It is perhaps too early to know the full impact of Hurricane Melissa.
I'm just hoping for the best and hoping that everybody's okay. You know, until I can hear more, I'll be able to settle my mind. It's been really upsetting, worrying.
Eunice Muller, BBC Northwest Tonight.
Interestingly, just as an addendum to that story, last night we heard from Kyle Holmes and his family, if you were watching. They're on holiday in Jamaica. They are all okay, but are now waiting for a new date in order to get home. Also on the programme last night, you might remember that we revealed the increasing pressures on our hospitals before winter pressures have really set in. We also included in that segment the government advice for eligible people to get their seasonal vaccinations. And that prompted lots of you to get in touch to point out that the eligibility for a free COVID jab has risen this year from over 65s to over 75s. Our health correspondent, Jill Dummigan, is back again to explain why this is, Jill.
Well, Roger, as you say there, that advice last night got some people quite irritated. Kathleen said, we were told today by our GP that a person has to be over 74. Rob said this is an awful decision and will put millions of pensioners at risk of catching COVID this winter. He also said it would be a recipe for disaster for our A&E units. Now, they've not just raised the age limit. Last autumn, anyone over 6 months in a clinical risk group could also get a free COVID jab. That includes people with many chronic conditions like respiratory, heart and kidney conditions, as well as diabetes. This year, it's been restricted to the immunocompromised. So that's people getting certain cancer treatments, for example. Now, that's very different to free flu jabs, which are available to 65 and overs and most children. And it's also very different to what some other countries offer for COVID jabs. In Ireland, the Netherlands, Germany, the recommendation is for everyone over the age of 60 to get vaccinated, as well as anyone in a high-risk group. The Netherlands and Germany also offers it to carers and care workers. So what's the impact of COVID here now? Well, last year, patients with it occupied more than 36,500 bed days in the North West hospitals last season. The worst of that was in the autumn, unlike flu, which tends to peak in January. But the government says our increased immunity means it's no longer cost-effective to give many people boosters. They told us that eligibility for COVID-19 vaccination is based on expert advice from the Joint Committee on Vaccine and Immunisation. And the current programme targets people who are at the highest risk of serious illness. Interesting fact, Roger, last year the stock, much of it was from what had been ordered in during the big pandemic response, but this year they've actually had to get it all in, which has also fed into this decision.
Jill, as always, thank you very much. Jill Dummigan there, our health correspondent. Right, quick bit of football. Two of our big clubs are hoping to reach the quarter-finals of the League Cup tonight. Liverpool need a boost, of course, after their recent poor form. They're at home to Crystal Palace. Manchester City travel to Championship side Swansea City. There's commentary on both of those matches on BBC Radio Merseyside for Liverpool, BBC Radio Manchester for City. The draw for the last 8 is around 10:30. Last night, Accrington and Tranmere shared the points after a 1-1 draw at the Wham Stadium. Sean Whalley gave Stanley a first-half lead before this superb strike from Charlie Whittaker equalised for the visitors. There you go. Rovers keeper Joe Murphy ensured the draw, though. He saved Paddy Mannon's penalty just a minute later. Now, a bit of nostalgia for those of us who remember audio cassettes. There's even a close-up, I think, of a Walkman in this next report. Dan Assels won't remember them, though. But as a young boy, the Liverpool singer-songwriter loved rummaging around in his grandparents' loft. It was there he found a cassette made by his uncle in 1999, which has now shaped Dan's first album, as Molly Brewer reports.
We were kids, we'd always try and get in the loft, wouldn't we? And then you that time.
It was like a little gold mine to you, so that was it.
Yeah, that was it, yeah. And I knew that all my Uncle Joseph's stuff was in the loft, and as I got more obsessed with music, I'd always ask him, can I have a look, can I have a look? And then my granddad took me up one time they had these like rickety stairs that would fall down from the sky, and they used to say, it's dead dangerous, you got to be careful, but we climbed up one there and I just found this like incredible, array of vinyls and gig posters, and in amongst it all was this tape that was called Soundtrack for the 21 bus home. The 21 bus is a bus that goes from like Liverpool city centre all the way through to Kirby. We would have got on that bus, listened to the mixtape after a night out or going to some gigs or something like that. So we obviously thought it was a journey worth soundtracking. I borrowed my granddad's little tape recorder player because I never had one. I never even knew what one looked like or anything like that. And when I played it, it was like all these amazing songs, all these interludes he'd put in to like make himself laugh.
Of course, you hear the cats wailing in the whale bar, wild bar, what fence, moonlight, midnight.
The Beatles, Echo and the Bunnymen, ABBA. I knew it was going to be something that would, inspire me and the set of rules that I abide by.
Don't you like a sing-along tune? Yeah, this one's for you.
First song on the record is called Joe, Are You Listening? And that's written directly to my uncle. I wanted to write an album about family.
I know I don't want my body. Well, that Joseph, he always had closed himself in after time. He always had them big earmuffs on. That's all he thought about was music, honest. Dan's the same now, like.
How important has Dan been in terms of keeping his memory alive through music?
I don't think he's ever left us.
She needs to walk them feet on solid mercy ground.
What do you think your Uncle Joseph would make of your album?
I like the idea that maybe you would have been like, oh, you should have written a song like this, or like, it's not quite cool enough or this. But hopefully you would have loved it.
That brought back a few memories. Molly Brewer with that report. Now, slightly spooky. If you have youngsters in your family, you are probably preparing for Halloween on Friday. Trick or treat, of course. Ghouls, goblins, witches, wizards, and the growing trend for haunted houses. More and more people are decking out their homes and gardens for the occasion. But can anyone outdo the one that we have found in Wirral? Jasmine Dufresne has been to take a look.
I was working in the lab late one night.
If you've walked down this street in Wallasey recently, you'll know it's impossible to miss this house. From blinking skeletons to life-size mannequins, 22-year-old Jamal has turned his front garden into something straight out of a horror movie, and neighbours can't get enough of it.
It's just nice to see the joy that it brings to the kids, and more so the adults seem to really enjoy it as well. So it's just nice that I'm able to do something that brings a smile to people's faces. So we've just put a few decorations outside. Started off a couple of years ago small and just decorating the gates, and now it's got a little bit larger and we've got some mannequins and some skeletons outside. And this year we've got a few new additions, the big groundbreaking skeletons.
And why have you chose to decorate your garden so much?
Well, it's just something I've always been brought up doing. Normally we're big on Christmas, but now it's more so for Halloween as well. The figures that you can see, the Michael Myers and the Jigsaw, they're mannequins that we've sort of dressed. So I got overalls from Screwfix, ordered the mask from Amazon, and then the stocks that are outside and the gallows, they're all entirely handmade from loads of scrap wood.
Can you tell me a bit about that reaction? What are kids saying? What have the neighbours said?
They're just made up. This year seems to be a lot more over the top than normal. People seem to really be liking it. Cars pull up all the time. Kids coming past from school, even people walking their dogs, they just seem to love it. It's nice to see other people enjoying it and the happiness it brings to them, because a lot of people won't decorate, or some people's children, their parents won't decorate, so it's nice that they can come and see somewhere that is decorated.
Well, it's absolutely fabulous, it really is. He does a wonderful job every year, but this year is even better.
We're just going looking at all the houses, so this is the best one we've seen so far. The detail and everything is just fantastic.
he did the monster mash. The monster mash.
To be honest, when you're walking past and you catch the skeleton in the car, that can catch you a bit off guard. But then when people have been walking past with the dogs, they'll see Michael Myers and they'll think it's me, so they'll start trying to talk to Michael Myers thinking it's me. I don't plan on stopping anytime soon, just growing and growing.
Jasmine Dufresne, BBC North West Tonight.
Some people don't decorate, says Jamal. Shamed me. I wonder what the weather's going to be like for Friday night. Maybe we'll get a glimpse. Here's the weather with Helen Willits tonight.
Good evening. There was quite a bit of dry and quite sunny weather around today, as you can see across Manchester, the skyline earlier in the day. We did have a scattering of showers. They became a little bit more numerous as we went through the afternoon, but they will fade tonight, so that means that it'll turn chillier. And that's because we've got this ridge of high pressure coming in, although it's not going to hold our weather fronts at bay for long because, as you can see, we've got more coming in tomorrow. So still quite a scattering of showers this evening, the odd heavy one, but they tend to ease away, as you can see, after midnight, retreating really to the coasts. The winds inland will ease away, so we could see a little bit of fog around, perhaps across the Cheshire Plains, up through the valleys, where it's going to be chilly as well. Temperatures falling to within a couple of degrees of freezing, so perhaps some grass frost around first thing on Thursday morning. And at this time of year, it takes a while for that fog to clear, so it could be a bit murky for the morning rush. Watch out for very poor visibilities. But the clouds on the increase come the afternoon. Some quite heavy rain for a time across the Isle of Man, and that cloudier weather, windier weather will push its way northwards. Yes, we could see some pretty strong winds around the Irish Sea coast as we head through the afternoon. And then as we go through the evening and overnight, those brisk winds and rain will push right across the UK, as you see. Following on behind, we'll see further showers. In fact, some lengthier showers or longer spells of rain, even with the odd rumble of thunder as we go through Friday. Again, some sunshine in between, not a washout, but there will be some big showers around. And it's much milder by Friday as well. Temperatures coming up a degree or two. And then we keep that same area of low pressure driving in the rain and the showers through Thursday and Friday. It stays there through the weekend, and we'll see these various little weather systems running around that low pressure. So it's going to be quite tricky to nail down the details. So if you have got plans for the weekend, please do stay tuned. But all in all, it's staying mostly mild after tonight's chill, but it will be rather unsettled with spells of wet and windy weather or showers for most of us.
Might need to send them out with a coat on then if they're trick-or-treating on Friday night. Talking about decorating your garden, Al, who's a regular writer, has just said my garden looks horrific all year round. How does he know? Thank you for watching. I'm back at 10:30 if you can join me. Have a good evening.